Hello, welcome to Therapy JA. Each week I'm doing an interview series where we interview different therapists from the islands and the Caribbeans. And today, Island and the Caribbeans. So now I'll get to. But yeah, man. So today I am interviewing someone I really admire, Xavier Bromfield-Morgan. She is the director of Counseling Space. She's very much heavy on Instagram and social media. She's very pushing the narrative of a safe space for mental health discussions. She's a therapist based in Canada. Hopefully she comes back. Xavier, thank you so much for doing this. How are you doing?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
All right, so just I want you to just introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are and about your company and your passion.
Yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Xavier Bromfield-Morgan. I'm a licensed associate counseling psychologist in Jamaica. I'm a certified rehabilitation counselor in the United States of America. And I'm also a career consultant in Canada. I have a master's in professional and rehabilitation counseling. I have been working in the field since 2012. Yes, can you imagine since 2012? Um, I formed Zen Counseling Space in Jamaica when the COVID-19 pandemic started. My goal was to really provide affordable counseling services to Jamaicans. Um, it's been great so far, and to date, we have grown tremendously. And even though I'm back and forth between Jamaica and Canada, being able to provide counseling via online and on the phone has been effective for the clients that I serve.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, could I ask what is it that well, first of all, like, how were you as a child? You've always wanted you've always enjoyed helping people. You always wanted to help people this way. Like, what sparked this passion?
So for me, it really started since I was a child. I went to Santa Cruz All Age, St. Elizabeth. And yeah, I'm from St. Beth. So it really started there for me. Back then it was called the School of Hope. So my passion really started out with persons with disabilities. And growing up with my grandmother who had a physical disability, I was really keen on helping. I always wanted to know what was going on. How could I be of support to these individuals? When I started high school, I went to Magati High School in St. Elizabeth too. I was a peer counselor.
In high school as a student?
Yeah, yeah. Back in my days, I was a peer counselor.
Okay.
It existed then. So I found myself really helping my peers and I really loved it. However, my true passion started when I transitioned from St. Elizabeth to Kingston. I went to Excelsior Community College to do my A levels. Um, and that was when I met psychology. So my original plan was to do nursing. And when I did introduction to psychology, I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is what I want to do. So that was where it started out for me. And I worked really hard. I did my A levels in psychology, history, sociology, and I got accepted to the University of the West Indies. And that was where I did my bachelor's of science in psychology. Great opportunity for me. However, like discovering my true passion really started when I was applying for my master's program. Um, I really wanted to help. I knew that I wanted to provide counseling services. So I was lucky enough to have an uncle who has been tremendous part of my academic journey. He gave me the opportunity to explore universities abroad. And he was like, well, you need to apply for the only school in Connecticut, the one that's closest to me. So I started doing my research. And then I found Central Connecticut State University. And when I was researching, they offered combined program. So it was vocational rehabilitation counseling, mental health counseling, and substance abuse counseling. And I was like,
This,
oh my God.
this was master. This is for your masters.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
everything that I've ever wanted to do. So they were all grouped in one. So I am really passionate about working with persons with disabilities. When it comes to mental health, I understood from an early point how important that was and the support that individuals needed at different times during their transition. I was just beyond excited. So for me, since I was a child, and I would definitely say that I was lucky enough to be able to connect with the innate gifts that I
Mhm.
have. And even though, I got professional training in the field, to this day, I still love what I do. I go to work enthusiastic about working with my clients. It doesn't matter who I'm working with, um, whether it's someone with a psychiatric diagnosis, whether I'm on a psychiatric unit, a substance abuse unit, whether I'm working in HIV, vocational rehabilitation counseling. It's just amazing to see these clients that we serve and how grateful they are to have someone who is truly there to help, to support them, and who cares about their wellness and their well-being.
Wow. Why am I? You said so, and I have to say because I kind of picked up on that with you when I saw like your social media and just like even the posts you made and just like to post stuff like that on your like your Instagram and to create like a space like that. To me, that's raw passion. You know what I mean? I don't think you can be just doing that. Even if somebody I pay like to do that just off the will, I saw the passion. So I was like, oh wow, this person is very serious about helping other people. She's very serious about like mental health. So like I picked up on that and I respected it. You know what I mean? So like I always yeah man, so like I always saw that about her and I was like, yeah man, she's genuinely passionate about the space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
And when I do my quotes, I really write from my heart or my video. I don't just post just to post. It really has to resonate with me. And I often ask the question before I post, how is this going to help someone else? Is this helpful or not? So I try to make a decision about, what's needed and whether it's going to help the population that I serve or also my new followers on Instagram. So the hope is that persons will feel comfortable enough to access mental health services in whatever space that they feel comfortable.
And do people like reach out to you like for services off the IG and thing? Or you get a lot of bookings and stuff?
Yeah, they do. But a lot of my I would say referrals come from the doctors in Jamaica. So I've made it my responsibility to have a collaborative relationship with the doctors in Jamaica. Culturally, our doctors are the first point of contact. And, someone presenting, say, for example, with a mental health diagnosis, they may not necessarily seek out a therapist. However, they go to the doctor. And, I've found that that has been a great medium for persons to get counseling services. So even when we think about Jamaica, there needs to be high level of collaboration with the counselors, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, and the doctors. I believe in this team effort. And, clients who are doing well, who are stable emotionally and who are functioning effectively in society are those individuals who have a team, a strong support system. So it's even more than us, the counselors, but it requires the comprehensive team, in Jamaica.
So How often is it that someone will like cold approach you or like cold reach out to you without a referral? Is it often or is not likely?
It really depends. It really depends on a monthly basis. Like if it's IG, I might get about five. Um, most of so IG, of course. The doctor is in Jamaica, and I got a lot of word of mouth.
Mhm. Well, that's easy.
Yeah, I believe, yeah, yeah. So, a lot of persons will connect with me and they'll say, Miss Brumfield, this person told me about you. So I find personally for me, that's the highest number of referrals that I have by word of mouth. And I think when we think about Jamaica, yeah, that works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to ask, like, in terms of what do you think is the biggest thing that's kind of specifically for men? Because like a lot of my audience is men. What do you think is the biggest thing that's holding down, or the biggest block for men in terms of feeling safe to discuss mental health or to even approach you for mental health, like to approach for men to get help with their mental health? What's the big? Is there a block in your opinion? Like, what do you think?
think there are multiple factors. One, I would say vulnerability. Most men, especially our Jamaican men, they don't want to feel a sense of vulnerability. And as a result of that, they might be a little reluctant, I would say, to connect with support and services as it relates to mental health. No one wants to appear as, being weak.
Yeah, no, man,
Right.
is that a real thing?
Yeah. And what I find is that for us to work through men's mental health and the way that they see counseling and therapy, we have to create that safe space for them. Um, Once they get the opportunity to connect with you, to get to know you, they'll understand that you're truly there to help. Trust in any counseling relationship, that's the number one thing. How am I going to build a trusting relationship with my male clients? How do they know that I'm there for the right reasons? So what you find that when you start the initial counseling session, they may not trust you. They're getting to know you, you're getting to know them. But I find, especially when I was at Jamaica AIDS Support for Life, 90% of my population, they were males.
Really?
And yeah, yeah. I found that once they got the opportunity to know you, they understand that you truly care. Like males need to know that we actually care about them. We care about their wellness. We don't expect them to be strong all the time. For me, I personally believe that we all need someone to connect with at some point, whether it's a therapist, whether it's our support group or the circle that we have created for ourselves. You know what you need. All right. I know we have a song in Jamaica, you can see a man's face, but we can't see their heart. That's something that I live by. Like we see our men all the time. Physically, they look amazing. They're so handsome and doing well, but we can't see their heart. What's holding them back from getting counseling? One, they don't trust. They don't want to be vulnerable. And two, for everyone, but mostly our males too, we don't have enough male therapists in this
Yeah,
field.
really? You don't think so?
Yeah. And I think that's a big factor that's deterring our males from seeking counseling services. Everyone has their idea of, where's my comfort space? Is it with a male? Is it with a female? I sometimes believe that if we had more males in this field, we'll definitely create a stronger space for our men to actually utilize counseling services. But I see a change.
You
I
don't think
see a
so?
change.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
I
more
see
therapists
more
out
males
there
are
now.
entering the field. And when I meet students who are actually pursuing psychology and who are interested in counseling, I encourage them because there's a gap. There's a gap. Um, I think also culturally, um, men are not really taught to express their feelings. openly. And it's really about how we're nurtured in Jamaica, even for us females too. But what we tend to find is that um our males don't say a lot. And because of that, worldwide, the suicide rate for males is higher.
Listen, man, I have to tell you, I as a man, I always feel it, because I've had many situations with like female friends where I said, Jano, I try to tell her what really going on in my life, and you can see the shift, so she don't really want to see that side of me, and she's like, you can, you get through it. I'm gonna say, oh Lord, I can't be vulnerable with this person. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of men have made the mistake of being vulnerable, and it kind of like in an argument that your vulnerability they flat like them use it against you as weapons, and you just say, oh, can't be vulnerable with this person. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of say, oh, I can't be open with this person. You know what I mean? So it's I think women kind of I don't blame it, but I just feel like women kind of push. I think a lot of men kind of feel it, say, yo, in situations where they've been vulnerable, and them feel like them suffer for being vulnerable, like them get punished for it.
Yeah, and that's where being selective about who you disclose to. Um, we all go through different things at different point in our life, and we're all looking for a safe space. As it relates to disclosure, when I'm having that discussion with my clients, especially my male clients, I often ask them, who's your support system? Who's your go-to person? You know your circle. You know the persons who are going to listen to you, be empathetic, provide that support that you need in that moment. But you also know those persons who might say, what's wrong with you? Be strong, yeah, man.
Oh
Man is
God.
supposed to be so weak. So you have to know your people and who you're going to reach out to at a particular time. What I also find helpful, Stephen, is that support groups work for men, right? Some men may not feel comfortable even with the one-on-one session, but if they are in a group setting where there are other men who are open enough and brave enough to share their story, their lived experiences, what they've gone through, the sense of growth that they have experienced along their journey, I think that's often inspiring for other males. And that's a therapeutic method that I think is needed more when we talk about men's mental health.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that I think could definitely benefit a lot of our males in Jamaica.
But okay, that's a very good point, and that's true because like I'm a part of a couple small groups, like I'm a part of multiple small groups with men, and yeah, man, that it's a lot healthier space when you can talk about what go on, and you have like a confidentiality, like literal confidentiality before you join the group. Like everything that's in this group stays in the group. You know what I mean? And once you have that, it's very much a healthy thing. But I wish I learned that earlier. Like I really wish I learned that from like our high school days, honestly. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it would have made a huge difference as a guy. You know what I mean?
Just imagine, just talking about high school, just imagine if we started creating those spaces with our young boys or adolescent at that stage, what that would mean for them as an adult, where you learn how to even connect with your feelings. What does it actually mean? Because we have feelings all the time, but we don't associate the exact meaning of it. Being able to be learning to be vulnerable in a group
Yeah.
setting with your other peers. That's where trust starts developing. And the hope is that, as we transition into adulthood, we feel a little more comfortable with sharing exactly how we're feeling. And Stephen, this goes further into relationships and the dynamics of relationships, with their
Okay.
female counterparts and vice versa.
So what do you
Just
mean by that?
imagine.
What do you mean by that? In terms of like couples counseling, like what do you mean?
Not even couples counseling, I would say, but just imagine if you were able to just express how you were truly feeling and having that openness to be able to share it with your partner, whether you're dating or, even being married. So it's a learned behavior too, being able to express our true feelings on the inside. And
No, man, more ask you something. Finish your point first.
yeah, and that's something that I would also want to see. And you spoke a little bit about couples counseling and what that really means. And I would definitely encourage our males. If you're in a relationship and there's a particular issue going on, don't feel afraid to go with your partner. All right. We have a tendency to say, no, you go on, I'm fine, I'm fine. Try it. Try it. Even if you haven't tried it, just try it and just see what happens.
So do you get like a lot of couples counseling in your experience? Do you get a lot of couples coming to you?
I wouldn't say a lot. Um, Occasionally. I may get some couples. I actually love couples therapy.
Really? More than the one-on-one thing?
I actually I wouldn't say more than the one-on-one, but for me, being able to support two individuals who are willing to work through the tough times, who are open to hearing the truth
Mm.
and have that collaborative relationship, work on making changes in their lives, I think is just remarkable.
Is it normally the man that don't want to do the couples counseling? Like, is it normally? It's normally the man.
Yeah, mostly on the meals. And for me, even when I'm doing couples therapy, I see the couple, but I also see the individual. And depending on the presenting problems that are coming up in the relationship, sometimes, we always feel as if, oh, it has to do with the relationship, things happening in the relationship. But what you find is that, each couple come into the relationship with their history, things that they've gone through in their past. And most times, my recommendation, even if we start with a couples therapy, I often encourage each partner to seek individual therapy. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with me. And if I'm meeting with one couple, I'm not going to meet with the other. So ethically, we have to be mindful as counselors in terms of the dynamics of our relationship with couples. Are you going to do couples therapy? Are you going to do individual therapy, with this individual? Because sometimes they'll ask, and you have to make that decision in that moment with them.
So, um, so hold on. Can you say normally, Xavier? That sounds expensive still, Like me as a man, I do couples therapy with my wife, and then the therapist I tell me I have to do another therapy by myself. That is like what this is. Like,
So it depends on the duration of it. Everyone has different issues going on. For me, I don't expect my clients to be in therapy for the rest of their lives.
okay.
You know what's going on. When you come to therapy, for me, I often describe it as a partnership. So we're partners working together. Okay. You're in the driver's seat. I'm there as your support system. So when an individual comes to therapy, yes, I'm exploring what's going on, what are the challenges, but my ultimate aim is to provide my clients with resources, with information that will help them to manage their presenting problems. Say, for example, I have a client who's struggling with depression. I go through the assessment. We'll identify, what are those triggers? What are those issues that's been affecting you? What are those stressors? And then I'll create an effective treatment plan for them, with different modalities and therapeutic approaches. However, once they start practicing those techniques in therapy, the goal is for the client to be able to apply them in their real world experiences when a stressor might emerge and being able to manage it effectively. And I always say that I don't expect my clients to be high all the time. I don't want them to be low. They need to be in the middle. So I create realistic goals with my clients. So even if they start couples therapy, Stephen, and they may need a one-on-one, they may not be in it for a long period of time, depending on their level of commitment to their wellness. Right? I can't give a timeline,
Hey, yeah,
but everyone experiences is different, and it depends on how much you want it. There has to be a hunger. There has to be a hunger for your wellness and your mental stability. And I will get those clients who might need psychiatric support, who might need medication. All right. This is something that we still don't talk about. It's still taboo.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm lucky enough to be able to work with a psychiatrist in Jamaica. So depending on what's coming up for my clients, and if based on my assessments, and if I feel as if they may need psychiatric assessment, I'll do the referral, and then we work collaboratively with the psychotherapy, with the medication. So it really depends on what's going on. I've had, I've had some remarkable clients who've done great with both methods and who are doing excellent to date. So I know it works. And working on a psychiatric unit as well, seeing the different modalities and how everyone works together, I try to embody that, in my treatment approaches for the clients that I serve.
Wow. All right, Margaret, I have two questions because you said, you brought up certain things. So when it comes to medication, how much of what is the influence of ganja in terms of, not, I don't want to say psychosis, but in terms of affecting mental states for patients? Like how many patients have come to you and it's like it triggers something because of ganja?
All right. So the reality is that as individuals, as human beings, we all have a predisposition for mental illness. All of us. Um, Everyone is triggered by something different. So when I talk about marijuana, even when I'm working with my clients, I know like in Jamaica it's normalized. A lot of persons smoke it. It's rare to find someone who doesn't smoke it. It's hard to tell because there are different there are different factors. But the discussion that I have with my clients is be mindful of where you get your marijuana from. You find that they're laced, meaning they're mixed with other drugs that can lead to psychosis, hallucination. So I would say, you need to roll your own spliff, buy your own ganja and roll your own spliff. If you are smoking and you start seeing a difference in yourself, the way that you're thinking, being able to function, you don't feel like yourself, that's an indication that, okay, maybe I shouldn't be smoking this. So we know our body. We know our body. But what I tend to find is that it's not just the marijuana, is what it's laced with. So other drugs. And that's what we need to be careful of, especially with our young persons in Jamaica. You know, smoking marijuana is just it's normal.
Listen, it's normalized, but I had a friend, where smart youth, charismatic, family come from money, mother and father rich, and it's like, listen, man, him smoke. I don't know. We don't know. I don't know if it was laced, because we just stop hang out. We stop par. Friendships. You go different school, and nowadays with social media, you can reach in contact with anybody really if you want to. But in them days, social media never that much, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. Is maybe because him start smoke weed so young, but the man start smoke weed and is like him can't finish school, couldn't finish high school. And them send him to the best schools on the island. Them all send him go to New York. Can't finish high school. Besides him become severely bipolar. Can't do nothing. Now work. Nah, nothing. Him basically just dependent. Like him just a live with him mother. Big big man, and him just a live with him mother. And to me it's just like me just the weed me see. I'm still smoke weed every day. You know what I mean? And from me see that me just say, alright, this is something I know I 100%. From me young, you know, me not touch like I smoke ganja. I've smoked it like once or twice, but because I've seen it affect people around me, say me not smoke. Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah, and it's important to know the family history. Be observant of what's going on in your family because it may not happen to you now, but you may have an uncle or an aunt that you're like, boy, he or she's not doing well. Growing up, I always heard that they had a mental illness. That says a lot about the predisposition for, other members in the family. But what I find though, Stephen, for someone, for example, your friend that you spoke about, a client in that situation, there are multiple things that needs to be done. Okay. One, depending on whether they're smoking marijuana or the drugs that they're using. We don't know what. It could be alcohol. Sometimes these individuals need to be in substance abuse treatment or treatment for marijuana. It's available, not so much in Jamaica, but they are available. And it really starts there with the detox process, whether it's an inpatient or outpatient facility. That's really where it starts. And even if someone is having an episode and it has been years and they haven't gotten the effective support that they need, all right? Say if it's major depressive disorder, if it's bipolar disorder, I spoke about the medications. There are medications available because there's a chemical imbalance occurring. How are we going to um not fix? How are we going to help them so that they can get to a point where they can function? For me, Stephen, it's really being able to function effectively, right? That's really the aim. And I've seen persons gone through rehab. I've seen individuals incorporate the therapeutic approach. And what you find is that they may require, if it's alcohol anonymous meeting, narcotic anonymous meeting. Those things are important, Even throughout my studies, I went even just to observe to see how does this actually works. These things are important because some drugs, marijuana, they're highly addictive, and it's not as if the person is not trying. It's not that they're trying to make changes in their lives. It's just very, very hard. And when they relapse, persons tend to judge. How come? How you gone back this so? But it's very, very difficult. Once you hear their story, um, it's I've worked with a lot of clients, and I would definitely say the clients who struggle the most are individuals who are addicted to any particular drug or alcohol. We underestimate, even in Jamaica, how addictive alcohol is. So many of our Jamaicans have alcohol addiction. They've never been diagnosed. They don't get effective services.
What is it that alright? So alright, ganja you can say, but alcohol is something that's very social. It's a social drink. So how is it that you can for someone that has a friend that they could be like, oh, this person is 100% struggling with alcohol addiction. What are the telltale signs?
Well, look at how much is being consumed, how often they consume it. Yes, most of us are social drinkers, 2 drinks, 3 drinks, maybe on the weekend. Are they drinking every single day? Do they have, and when I ask this question, clients often look at me, do they have a first drink in the morning? That's a key indication. When you wake up, most Jamaicans, we grab for our tea. I want some hot tea. But for those individuals, they want their alcohol. They
In the
want their
morning?
fast. They want
For
it. Yeah,
breakfast?
for
Rum for
breakfast.
breakfast.
Rum for breakfast. That's a key indication. Think about their functioning. Are they able to function in society? Are they able to go to work? Are they able to wake up on time? right? Are they doing anything meaningful in their lives? So with every drug, we have assessments that we conduct to see how the level of it, and that's where I would start. I even for me, working in Jamaica, I can only recall maybe two clients that I've seen with serious alcohol addiction who are able to identify like this is a problem for me. I need to make a change in my life. For me, when I try to support, especially our Jamaican men, and you mostly see our men who have alcohol addiction and who wants to make a change, you tend to find that it occurs mostly later in their 50s, 60s, when they're doing this reflection about their life, what they have done, what they haven't achieved, where they're at, and they identify it as being a problem. So that's the first thing, being able to accept that, this is a problem for me. Most persons are not at that stage. And I think it's important that culturally we start having that dialogue about when this becomes an addiction, when this is not so-called, just social drinking. It's normalized. And it's one of the hardest addiction to break.
Really?
It's yeah, it's one of the
What is it? What is
hardest
it so
one.
difficult to break?
Because one is not seen as a problem, two, it's easily accessible, and three, persons are not willing to get the help and support that they need. And with alcohol addiction, it's not, oh, I'm going to a few sessions, I'm going to implement this route, this route, these techniques, make this change to my routine. It's everywhere. So just think about it. When you go to the supermarket, it's right there. At every corner, there's a rum bar. So just think about all these triggers that they face throughout their daily routine. Your friends calling you over, man, come have a drink. What happened to you? What do you mean you're not drink no more? Right? So there's so many factors, internal, external. And when we think about stressors that individuals are going through, we all cope differently. Most of us know we have healthy coping techniques. We're exercising, we're eating healthy, right? We're incorporating all of these meditation and relaxation techniques. And for older males in Jamaica, that's not their reality. Drinking the alcohol is their way of coping. And if you take that away, what's going to happen to them? All right. So it's a gradual step. So we can't just ask someone, oh, you need to stop drinking. They have to have an effective treatment plan where they can detox. So they go through different steps, one stage at a time. Um, because it can also be harmful, depending on the extent of it. But these are some of the things that we actually need. And just think about the pandemic and how we were all affected in Jamaica by the COVID-19 um, pandemic. And it's very interesting to see, as we move forward, what are these presenting diagnoses that are more prominent? Because I do believe that there are going to be some changes. And as we can see, we're going through a mental health crisis worldwide. And I don't think we've seen the highest level of it in Jamaica as well. And one group, Stephen, that I'm very, very concerned about is our young adults. I'm very, very concerned about them. We hear it all the time, or in the songs, the Molly, the different drugs that they're using. That wasn't the reality for us. Even when we think about drinking culturally, most of us as children, we took a little sip of alcohol here and there, but most of us are not addicted to it, especially I would say in our 30s, late 20s. What you find is that young adults are drinking earlier, all right, meaning they're not sipping or tasting, they're actually drinking the alcohol. They're using it as a coping mechanism for the pain or the stressors that they might be experiencing. And when we talk about substance abuse, Stephen, I think that's one group that needs to be targeted more for substance abuse, not only the drinking, but all the other drugs. Now we spoke about marijuana. I think there's a rise for that population, and that wasn't the trend that was present in Jamaica before.
Wow. Wow. So like what steps would you recommend for these young adults then to kind of to curb this like this wave of addiction and just like partying and well just the indulgence then not partying but the indulgence in drugs and heavy alcohol.
Yeah, I think it first starts with information and raising awareness about it. Um, there are different entities there, through the ministry, different nonprofits. I really feel as if there needs to be stronger collaborations with the school. Yeah, we're teaching different subject areas, but we need to focus a lot more on wellness, on effective coping techniques, collaborating with the parents too, because it starts in the home, all right? Even if parents are not sure 100% what's going on, they tend to see that change in their child's behavior, and they'll connect for help. Most parents will get the help that they need for their child, and that is the time that we need to catch our young person before they transition to young adulthood. um Normalizing going to therapy, even if it's not their counselors in the school setting, what else could be implemented, so that different counseling centers or private practices could have that collaboration with the school. So say, for example, if a teacher observe a change in the pattern of a particular student, how are they going to make that referral with the counselor so that we can identify, okay, what's going on? What's that main stressor? What happened? Because a lot of our youths, Stephen, they're going through trauma, and trauma in different ways, whether it's physical, sexual, emotional. There's so many trauma that they're experiencing, and they're not able to express what is truly going on with them. So ultimately, they're going to find different coping techniques. There are some persons, because everyone is doing it, so we follow the in group to be a part of it, not thinking about the consequences of it, the long-term impact. And we spoke about predisposition to mental illness. My friend might be smoking, they're good, they're popping their Molly, they're all well, but I may take it and may not do so well. I might end up in the hospital, right?
It's surprising, because I remember at one point Molly was a thing, but I thought it passed. You know what I mean? Cause it was you had ecstasy and you had Molly. But I know a couple of girls who tell me say, yeah man, them take them they were on Molly, and I said, really, Molly? I saw people like Molly now.
Yeah, it's very common there. It's too common. It's too common. I've known of examples where persons went out with their friends, they placed drugs in their drinks, not knowing, woke up the next morning not knowing who am I, where am I, or what happened. Yeah. So even when we talk about our young adults, and it doesn't necessarily have to be females, or males too. It's important. Everyone, it doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter the gender. It's important that when we step outside of the comfort of our home and we go to social settings with our so-called friends, it's important that we pay attention to what's going on. Even for me, Stephen, when I was going through my university studies, undergrad, grad school, I had a limit. My limit was two, right? I would never drink more than two. I would never allow someone to open my drink. I would never take drink from someone. So there has to be that onus, that responsibility on you as an individual to look out for yourself. So, no, no, you're vulnerable, right? If you're intoxicated, if you're taking a particular drug and you're not able to function as yourself, anything can happen to you in that moment. That's our responsibility to ourselves. And you need to know the people that you surround yourself with. Because when something happens, I wish I did this, but it's past already. And how am I going to move forward? All right. So protective measures, I think, are important. I always say we have a responsibility to protect ourselves from experiencing any event that could have an adverse mental impact on us.
Man, yeah, it's funny you said that because I do remember a friend of mine. Something did happen, similar did happen to her. But man, I think the thing with me is, and maybe this happened to you, you know, when people just feel like them comfortable for open up to you, and you can kind of be like, boy, should I really tell this person what I feel? Because I know them opening up to me, but I don't. You know, I feel like a lot of times people will just say what they put on them chest, but them not really. It's just like them just want, them not really talking to you, them talking at you. You know what I mean? Them kind of want just unload.
It's a release.
It's a release, you know what I mean? So there have been many occasions where a girl would tell me a situation happened to her, and more and be like, yo, that person is not your friend. You know what I mean? And but you can't really, you know, I just kind of just like, and I'm like, I don't want to say, but just kind of say, I'm not really my business. Like that's kind of my thing, because I'm just like, boy, that person, like she tell me the story, and from how I hear the story, I'm like, that person, the girl where she par with is clearly like, the girl clearly I try to set her up. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, that's not your friend. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you brought that up, and I've heard stories, like young adults come to me with them thing, and I said, boy, it's so heavy. I just say, nah, man, I better you tell this to a therapist. But like, you know what I mean? Like real talk. You know what I mean?
But then, Stephen, if that happens again, when someone comes to you, you know, in the dynamics of relationship, everyone sees each other differently,
Mhm.
right? You may not be as close to that person. That person is not the person that you would confide in, but they see you in a different light. And for that individual to open up to you and just share their raw truth about what happened, even if it's embarrassing, that says a lot. Even if we don't have all the answers, we owe them that respect to just listen, right?
Yeah.
Um, Encourage them. So even if you're not the person, encourage them to talk to someone else who could provide effective support, whether it's a counselor or a therapist or someone that they're close to. Because not everyone will want to come to therapy, or they may not be in the stage where they feel ready. Because sometimes when persons go through traumatic experiences, they don't want to come. It's too new. It's hard. But years down the line, they may decide that, what, this is something that I need to work through at this stage. So if someone comes to you, you're right, just listen. You may not have all the answer. They just want to share it, because it's just so hard to carry. Right. So yeah, I think, it's good being a friend.
No, man, no, but it's just because I knew. What happened? Like I remember at one point, I just had another situation come up, and me say, yo, man, go get involved, and it just, you know what I mean, and it blow back. You know what I mean? The person reach out to me and I say, yo, blah, 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 man. I'm going to just say, some not do this. You know what I mean? I'm sure it happened to you. Where like your friend might come to you that problem and you say, yo, my girl, that man, they look like him might cheat on you or might use you. And then she go back to the man and say, Xavier, tell me. You're just like, oh, I'm not doing this again. You know what I mean? So,
Most times you're just trying to protect them. That's what you're doing as a true friend. And if they value you and they also respect you, they'll know that, Stephen doesn't mean any harm. He's really looking out for me.
yeah, but I mean that's the intention. That I mean, say it translates. You know, I'm sorry, talking to him, I just have them flashbacks where you know what I mean, where people will open up to me and it's just like, when you really say, you say your opinion and it blow back, you're just like, you know what, I just mind my business and.
In that moment, you did what you were supposed to do, irrespective of,
Yeah.
of what happened.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, hold on. I have some other questions to ask you. All right. So what is pushing the progress for like mental health discussions amongst men, or do you see like a growth in terms of mental health discussions in Jamaica? No, or do you feel like it still need work?
I'll say there's room for growth. There's small groups, and it depends on the organization or who they serve. Um, I still, even privately, I still have a lot of meals as well. But I feel like more is really needed for for our meals. And we often have this discussion about affordable counseling services. And irrespective of the gender, I think that's one of the main barrier in Jamaica. Is not that it's not like persons don't want to access counseling services or access support. Most times they're not in the financial position to be able to do so. What we really need is more funding, so that persons can, access counseling services, at a lower scale. And I honestly believe that if it was made affordable, most of our meals would actually be, utilizing the services. And what you find is like, I've had, and I said to you, like most of my clients, it's like word of mouth. So if I meet with this particular male and they tell this person about me, then they would like to see me too. So you tend to find that a lot. And I feel like, as counselors, if we are really authentic in the work that we do, if we show that we truly care and that we care about the well-being of our male, they'll feel more comfortable coming to us. And what has worked for me, Stephen, is like most persons, they don't necessarily want to sit face to face with me. Virtual therapy works well. And I find I've had clients where I don't even know how they look. Phone sessions. I've had clients I had no idea. But phone sessions work. I find that phone sessions work for males too. So they'll do the phone sessions with you. They don't necessarily want you to see them at all. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's also important that we meet our males where they are, right? Go at their own pace. If they prefer phone, work with phone. Okay. If they just want to meet once a month, by every 2 months, that's okay, as long as they're utilizing the services.
Why is therapy so expensive, man? It. Why is it so expensive? What's the no for real? Cause I'm like there are many times I'm more I reach out to my therapist, but then like him always I bring up price and I'm like Jesus have mercy. You know what I mean? Come and know say I can afford it for a certain amount of times for the month. You know what I mean? But why? Why is it so expensive? What's the deal? Is it in Canada? Is there more of an infrastructure where someone can get like it can be covered like Medicare? Is there like an insurance thing that covers it?
Yeah, the health insurance covers therapy. Um, and they may cover, depending on where you work, they may cover some, and then you have to pay part of it. So I find that helps. So if as part of all these insurances that we pay in Jamaica, say for example, if mental health was a critical, part of it, I feel like more person will be able to afford it. All right. Um, you know, I try within my practice to provide affordable counseling, and especially even with students, young adults, I try to meet them where they are on an individual basis. But I do understand, for it's a business too. And persons are giving up their services. But what I'll say, irrespective of the cost and who you choose, even if you can't go twice per month, if you can only afford 1 month, you go, right? So I always encourage, my clients, if it's every 2 months, you make that sacrifice for the 2 months. You're doing it for yourself. Um, because most of the work actually comes from you. It's not from the therapist, right? It's not from your therapist. Yes, they provide the support. Yes, they provide the resources, but you have to do the work. And it's continuous. Even beyond therapy, it's really continuous. So for me, that's one thing that I wish, there can be some change to, as it relates to more affordable counseling
Or
service.
even just like putting it in an insurance or something, like having an insurance package or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, we need to see more of that. Just remember, Stephen, not everyone works, not everyone has insurance. So
Right.
that's another
That's true.
barrier. That's another barrier too. So even when we talk about support, sometimes we have to depend on our family members or friends to pay for sessions. I've had those cases where the family or the friends they pay for the session. So we have no problem, helping with other things, but why not help the individual if you can, and not wait until the point where, if it's critical, where they're hospitalized. So, as a unit, as a family unit, as a society, like how are we really helping and supporting each other, especially the persons who are closest to you? So I think that's also important when we think about the context of, Jamaica and how we are.
Wow. You said a mouthful, man. You said a mouthful. I always feel like it's a tone, like I always feel like how you end it is always something like you're going to say more, but you don't say more. And I'm like, oh, okay. But no, man, no. 100% I agree. Because I think that is the average time. Like, I think I did like a couple questionnaires when I was building the website. And
Yeah.
most of the time, the biggest thing was price. People say, them would love for the therapist, but price. You know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
it's a referral thing them will do, but price it's so expensive. So I'm not at most of the time them have had Google or watch YouTube for try figure out what to do with them problem. Or enough of them not really not even want to go past like that. 'Cause enough people will go to the church and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
church membership. I think a lot of people have a perception of the church as not necessarily a safe space and still has a kind
Yeah,
of a
absolutely.
judgmental element to it.
Yeah, the confidentiality. Yeah, that's the key. That's the key right there. But it does work for some persons still. I think pastoral counseling, it has its place.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of factors in terms of the therapist that you choose. I always describe therapy as shopping. And I think even if we think about it in that context,
Mhm.
um, you know, it will make it a little bit easier for us when we embark on this journey of finding a therapist. Your first therapist may not be the right fit for you. No.
True.
No, maybe not the second one. You're lucky when you find someone that you connect with. So just think about it as human beings. We're all about connection. We might meet someone, in Jamaica. Oh, my spirit not take him, or not take her.
I hate that. I hate that phrase so much, but I understand it.
But if you think about it on a deeper level, Stephen, it's about that connection. Who is going to understand you? Like who truly cares? It's really about that connection. Not every therapist connect with every client. And it may take you 2 to 3 times to find the right fit for you. It's always important that you do your research. Research who these therapists are, research their qualifications, their specializations, who they serve. That's key. You know the issues that you're going through. Okay, do they have the expertise to help me, right, to work through these particular issues? And you know, culturally, we have to understand that your counselor, your therapist, they're not your friend.
Mm-hmm.
So boundaries are important in the dynamics of
Boundaries, man.
your
Yeah.
relationship with them. Everyone has a different style of counseling, and the style may not work for you as well. So there are so many other factors that will help you to determine if this is the right fit for you. But when you meet that therapist or that counselor, you'll know. And the word consistency. So being consistent in your therapeutic sessions. So for those persons who are thinking about going to therapy, it's important that once you make that commitment, that you're consistent with it. And even if finances is a barrier, I always say even once per month.
Once is a very that rough still, honestly.
Yeah, even twice, Stephen. If it's so hard, even twice, you go. Because what I find with my clients who are stable, who are doing well, they consistently attended their therapeutic sessions. And working at Jamaica Aid Support for Life in Jamaica, so they provide counseling services to the clients that they serve. Okay, so they're funded. They're funded nonprofits. So they're funded nonprofits in Jamaica who provides counseling services. So, you have to do your research to see, okay, what does this entity provide? Do I meet the requirement to be a part of these organizations? And Stephen, what I found was that our meals, they came to their therapeutic sessions. And on a monthly basis, my caseload was too high.
It's too high?
Put it like that, too high. So depending on the time period and what was going on, it could range from 60, to 71. That's a lot. That's a
71 a month?
But some of the sessions, brief sessions. So depending on what's going on.
What you consider brief?
So like brief, so like say 30 minutes. The average session, which should be about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what's going on. So brief sessions, 15, 20 minutes, not more than 30. But there are clients who required, extensive services, extensive one-on-one. So, it depends on where you're working. Sometimes your caseload is a little bit higher than usual. But I found that those clients, they access the counseling services. They came to their follow-up sessions. I didn't have to call them to remind them about their session. They came. And I think that's critical. So when you have services available to our clients, they will access it. They will access it.
Do you have a therapist? Because that sounds emotionally overwhelming. Do you have a therapist?
Oh yeah, I have my person. So it's really important that we take care of ourselves. Depending on the sector that you work in, some months maybe a little bit more hectic than other months. So I have my therapist, I call her my go-to person. She's also in the field. She's been with me throughout my journey. So this is the person that I talk to when I have a tough session, a difficult session. One thing about me is that I'm really connected. I'm really connected to myself.
Yeah. So you can sense when you're feeling like
I can sense when it's too much. So I'm very structured. So I structure my schedules, I structure my session, and that really helps me to create that stability for myself. Um, and I found that has been effective for me as a therapist. When we talk about self-care, there are different things that I do to take care of myself. I love the arts. So we talk about like dancing, right? Singing, even though I can't sing. Yes, I love music. I love music, Stephen. And those are effective techniques that work for me. So when I'm in my own space, when I'm finished with work, music that works for me, different dance techniques. And I love work culture. There's everything. I love everything about dance hall. That makes me very happy. And I make it a responsibility to take care of me in the best way that I can, meaning I'm very strict as it relates to my food. I have my meals every day, my 3 meals per day, my breakfast. I never miss a breakfast. And as therapists, we tend not to take our lunchtime. I take my hour. And if I'm at work and I have that space, I will turn off the lights and just use that moment to connect with myself. Yeah. That's my time to myself. And as soon as I leave the office, my phone is turned off. If it's if it's a you know, a critical case and the person need extensive support, the information is there for referral to the hospital. If I'm at work and say, for example, if my clients need extensive, you know, psychiatric support, I've had cases where I went with my clients, to UA to make sure that they got admitted if they needed that support or if they were suicidal. But once I leave work, that's where it ends for me. And I think that's so critical. You know, being in the field for so long, you realize how important that is. And the longer you are in the field, you're learning how to pull back a little bit more. Right. So even in my private practice, I love that flexibility. I don't have to do a lot of sessions if I don't want to. Um, I'm able to decide how many clients that I see at a particular time. And that works well. That works well for me too.
So thank you so much for wrapping up Therapy JA, man. This was such a good session. Xavier, you are amazing. All right, so if you can just, let people know where they can contact you, how they can reach you.
Yes. So my Instagram is Zen, XEN, counseling, COUNSELLING space. You can email me at zencounseling space@gmail.com. And so Zen means zenacious, energy, nurtured. So Zen counseling space is where your zenacious energy is nurtured. So my WhatsApp is 876-700-9970. So you'll get me on WhatsApp. And I'll absolutely respond to you. So those are the main ways of connecting with me. And if you do send me a DM on Instagram, I'll also respond. I'll
That's that
respond as
that's
well.
real.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so connect with me. And we book your consultation. So consultations are normally 15 to 20 minutes. So you'll get an idea of who I am. I'll get to know you. And, you know, consultations are important to see if your therapist is a good match for you. So that's where it really starts with me. And I'll tell you more about the cost of the session, how the process works, payments, etc. And for students, the rates are different for students, high school students, university students. So connect with me and we'll definitely have that dialogue.
But all right, love, it's about to shut off. It's like what? Oh yeah, 1 minute, less than a minute. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.